So, you know, the relations with Israel. We're not asking you to be an expert on this, but you experience it. Just give us a different perspective between the Palestinian and Israeli conflict. We're not asking you to demonize anybody. That's not what we're here for. No. They're going to be. You just told me you supported Bernie Sanders. I know you've got friends that are Jewish as well 100%. As I do. Strong. So this isn't them versus us, but it is talking about sometimes there are things that need to be pointed out that we're blind to kind of sometimes give justice a bright light to shine on everyone equally.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is probably one of the most controversial topics, I think, right now, either globally or even in American politics right now, because I mean, there is huge pro-Israel sentiment within America, right? And so I mean, we just know recently Trump acknowledged Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And that's pretty controversial because I mean, again, that's a city that's pretty important to all three faiths, right? And so, I mean, people don't understand this. So when we pray, we're praying towards in the direction of Mecca, right? Which is where the holy Kaaba, the house is. But before that, it actually was towards Jerusalem.
Right.
So if you go to, so that's where we used to, in the past, before the prophet decided to go towards Mecca and stuff. And so, if you still go to Hagia Sophia, it's interesting. You have something called the mihrab, which is where the imam stands when he gives the speech and stuff. And that kind of helps us decide which direction we need to pray. There's two there. There's one pointing towards Jerusalem and one pointing towards Mecca. Because remember, Hagia Sophia predated Islam and Prophet Muhammad by 200, 300 years, right? So when it became a mosque, it's kind of predating those things. But I think that's the thing, like, with the Israeli and Palestinian conflict, it's a hard discussion because, I think because if you say anything bad against Israel or kind of point any criticism of Israel, you consider it anti-Semite, which I think is you gotta like separate that. You can be critical of a country's politics and not of a group of people. I remember when I moved to Long Island, one of my best friends, the first friends I had, was a Jewish guy, right? And he was, huge friend of mine. I have friends who are Jewish. It's complete respect. And I feel Judaism and Islam are very, very similar in faith. And I think that in our practices and stuff, I mean, we truly are like sister faiths, right? And so how similar we are. But I think that's the thing. We're not seeing that, again, the history is always told on the side of the victor, right? So you have Israel, which is a pretty strong group, right, a country right now, and has the support of America, so it makes it even stronger. And so, I mean, what you're seeing with right, and I think all people hear about is Hezbollah, Hamas, things like these groups that have going to violence, and we don't condone that at all. Like, we're against that. We don't believe in the violence in that. But you see that the Palestinian people are being very oppressed, right? You have Israel going to making illegal settlements, right? If you look at globally speaking, a lot of nations see the injustice that Israel is doing, but it's just that America is not seeing it because it's a strong ally of America. But you're basically getting all these Palestinians out of their lands and having Israelis illegally building settlements there. I think one person kind of said it best, and like, again, I'm fair. If you know me personally, like, I'm a very mellow, huge pacifist guy. But I think one person kind of said it best, like, the side that throws the rock is the side that has kids throwing the rock is the side of the oppressed. But the side that has the tank is the side of the oppressor, right? And so what military does the Palestinians have? They have none, right? So you have, I was watching this funny, like, I love fashion, and I was watching this documentary on Vice where this American girl goes to different places in the world and kind of sees how the fashion industry is. And she went to Palestine. She was talking to one of the Palestinian fashion designers, and he was walking her towards one, and he just stopped at this one area. And she's like, "Why aren't you coming forward?" It's like, "I can't. If I step in this one part, I'm gonna get shot down by the Israeli soldiers." And she started crying. She's like, I can't believe this. Like, this is the kind of life you have to live, where you kind of these invisible boundaries where you can't step, because if you do, your life ends right there. It's a situation. It's a plight again of a group that is being maligned. But I think it's a group that really needs help, international help, right? Because again, it's like, I think we're feeding this story where you have the suicide bombing and stuff, which is something that's a huge no-no, right? It's a huge no. If you see most like traditional mainstream Muslim scholars will say this is completely illegal within the Islamic faith, but that's all we're hearing about. But we're not hearing about the mistreatment of the Palestinian people who have no rights whatsoever. Where they go to checkpoint, just to go to a doctor in Israel, they got to go through a checkpoint where women give birth right in a checkpoint because they can't go through because Israeli soldiers are giving them a hard time. I've never been to Israel, but my wife has. and she's kind of talked about her experience going through as a hijabi, as a headscarf person who's going through the checkpoints and stuff is miserable, and then it's something that you're purposely being mistreated because you're of a certain faith, right? And that's would never fly in supposedly in America, right? Which is supposed to be the land of opportunity, which is, you know, equal for all humans and stuff, all Americans. But it's a concept that, you know, something that we're not seeing, that these poor guys are literally by physical cages and invisible cages are preventing to kind of, you know, grow in their lives. That these are completely economically, emotionally, physically devastated people that we're not focusing on. But I think the problem is that we have this sentiment that's going on in our politics where anything that's seen bad about Israel is you're an anti-Semite or something, you know. And it's funny, there's actually an organization, I forgot what they're called, as a Canary something, where I think when you look at American politics and global politics, where if you say anything bad about Israel, you're now in this list of being considered an anti-Semite. So like people like Ilhan Omar are in there, like Rashida Tlaib are on there, all these people, like organizations or people that kind of have said anything critique of it, you know. So it's a very, very iffy topic, and something like, honestly, like I feel kind of always nervous talking about, because I feel like you never know.
And I understand that. And thank you for being willing to do so. It is sad that true love holds each other accountable. When you love somebody, you're willing to risk losing them for their betterment. You're willing to offend for the sake of the greater good. And so a lot of the times what we call a blind, you know, whether it is faith, whether it is patriotism, whether it is allegiance, it is insincere when we're not willing to hold each other accountable, when we're doing things that are destructive to each other. And that's an immaturity. It's an immaturity in faith. It's an immaturity in love. It's an immaturity in thought, because no one gets better without a true deep analysis of where we are weak, where we are wrong others, where we are wrong ourselves, where we're damaging our own selves. So yeah, and that's where the country is still yet immature. That is where the world, that's where humanity still has room to grow. You made me think about when you're talking about the settlements. You know the difference between settlements, colonization, and gentrification?
What?
I don't either. I don't know.
Fair.
I don't either. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't know. We use euphemisms all the time for things that we know in our hearts are wrong, but we want to rationalize as being right. So we use other terms for that. No, man, this is deep, man. I'm. You're stretching me, and I mean that sincerely, because these are sensitive subjects. Tell me about who are some of the people that our listeners can follow their lives and that have inspired you in this.
Fair. And so, I think in American culture right now, I think there's a lot of figures out there that I think kind of interesting in mainstream American politics, or I think one of them, I mentioned him multiple times, Khalid Beydoun. He's a lawyer from Detroit, the scholar when it comes to law, but he talks a lot about cool things when it comes to Islam in America. I think he's a wonderful figure. I highly recommend people reading the book American Islamophobia, where he kind of talks about the history of Islam in America and kind of where we were from antebellum Islam, from slavery all the way to the current politics right now. And we talk about structural racism, personal racism, but we talk about structural Islamophobia, right? Personal Islamophobia, at the level of the individual to the state, right? So something that he's really good. Another figure that's been awesome, I kind of absolutely kind of been following a lot recently, is Dr. Abdul Al-Sayed. He's all over CNN. He actually is a former candidate for the governor of Michigan. He is an epidemiologist. He's a physician, and he is an awesome figure. I think, kind of talking about when it comes to, even with the coronavirus, this is his topic, his forte, but also kind of developing to politics of Muslims in America. I think kind of a great figure. Linda Sarsour is another one. She's a cool figure. She actually is pretty huge in the Black Lives Matter. If people don't know, she actually is from Brooklyn, but she actually moved to Louisville doing the whole Breonna Taylor stuff. So kind of fighting for justice for her. So she's a really cool figure. Somebody I've met in Atlanta. She's
cool.
Really cool figure. She's this Palestinian American from Brooklyn, straight up with a thick Brooklyn accent. And so she's pretty awesome. And so she's another person I think people can follow. She's really cool. But I think you have certain, I think we're finally getting into mainstream media as well, like with comedians and things like that. I think one of the big important person I think is Hassan Minhaj. Absolutely is a huge fan of him. I think he's put us on the spot showing like, hey, like we are normal people, that we're just regular guys, and regular women who have our interests, but we tend to be Muslim. That's just one of our titles that we have, one of our things that we believe in, but we're Americans, we're humans. And so I think he's a huge important figure as well too. So I mean, we're definitely getting in the forefront now. I think we're definitely being I don't think we're almost there. I mean, if you see like in social media too, if you look at advertising, you see hijabis in the fashion industry now being very important. Like one is Halima, she's huge, so like she's huge, the Somali model, she's huge right now. There's a lot, like Noor Taguri is huge right now in the fashion industry. She's Noor Taguri.
Okay, yes.
Taguri, she was a journalist, but now she's huge in the fashion industry. Buddies with like people like Ashley Graham and stuff. So she's pretty big now in that situation. So I think where we're getting there, we're kind of more. I think if you get more and more exposure to us, I think is going to kind of change our mindset as well too.
And so, you're not big into somebody culturally appropriates you, right? Right. So people want to steal your culture, right? So So I was going to bring it up.
Yeah. So talk about Rihanna. So I mean, she did send an apology, but she had a recent fashion show. It was like. I'm not even gonna pretend like I know it, like Savage X Fenty or something.
Yeah, that's right.
So she basically did this fashion show where she had this song playing and it had something called the Hadith, which is a bunch of different sayings of the Prophet, right? And the kind of to us is kind of very equivalent to the Quran. The Quran is the word from God. The Hadith is basically the sayings of the Prophet, which kind of teaching. So kind of use that as a way to kind of end the song and stuff. A lot of Muslims were kind of offended by that. It's like it's not something to be used in that context and stuff. So another controversy is I know this is kind of, I do really like his music, and though he's a very controversial, interesting figure, is Kanye. But I am obsessed with his shoes, as Kay Ford is as well. But he basically made two new shoes where basically we're using Israfil and Esrael, who are basically big figures, angels in Islam, kind of like basically one of the big figures like Gabriel. And so kind of had shoes that were named after them. And so a lot of people were kind of, so we're kind of offended by that. Like,
is that a recent phenomenon?
Yeah, in the past month or two. Yeah. Okay. So like we're saying like, these are pretty big, important figures within Islam. And so kind of have them named after a shoe, was kind of, inappropriate, so people may take it as it is, but like people say maybe that's too minor or whatever, but it's out there. But I think we're finally if Kanye is using us, if Bad Girl Riri is using us, I think we're somehow in the picture now, So
right. This is not who we are yet, and hopefully we never become this. But it said any publicity is good publicity. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. So and then there's there are two more that you put on my list, and one of them was dear to my heart because my daughter did a little video presentation way back in grade school. She's a high schooler now. Malala Yousafzai.
Yes, true. My God!
Come on,
Malala,
straight.
Yeah. I gotta look at this. I gotta look at this list. So
straight G. Who gets shot in the head trying to go to school as a kid, and then this amplifies that, and then goes on a world tour for women and girls' education. I mean, that is, you can talk about 50 Cent getting shot. That doesn't even compare to this girl got shot. She's going to school in the head.
Totally phenomenal. And I think her story is awesome. I mean, she is in England now. She graduated from Oxford, which is that's basically graduating from Harvard, and so there's a girl who basically, and in that area it's changed a lot now. It's known to be one of the things I love about Osama. If you see if the people who know him, on his Instagram, he does a lot of pictures which show this is Pakistan, and he shows like the landscape of Pakistan. It's a beautiful country, and I think she's from an area that's probably known to be one of the most beautiful parts in Pakistan. But unfortunately, it was in the sense when Taliban had a huge stake in that area, like they no longer
is that
do.
the Swat Valley, or where
Swat
is that?
Valley.
Just
Yep. So in the north frontier, where my wife's father is from that province, because of that very Persian background. So basically, where they had a huge stronghold there, and they basically didn't want women to be educated, right? Because I mean, that's always a threat. I think you'll have raised very educated children, I believe, if the mother is educated, right? So I think that's what you need to educate women, right? And so in that part of the world where it's still predominant, and I think it's a very cultural thing. So a cultural thing where women are to be just subservient, not do anything, be uneducated and stuff. But she was in the second, we're not being that mindset. We're going to keep we're going to wear a uniform. And remember, these girls were basically being, were putting themselves out there by wearing a uniform, but they would be smart. Sometimes they wouldn't wear their uniform when they get to school and they wear the uniform and stuff. And so finally, where she was basically very vocal about being against the Taliban's pursuit of preventing women from being educated. And so she got shot. It was taken to England, where she was operated on, and thank God she made it through. And she is awesome. Like she got the education she needed. She went to Oxford, right? And so,
right. I mean, really I have no excuse. She got shot in the head and graduated from Oxford.
Yeah.
What's my excuse, right?
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. You know, it's like a phenomenal story in life. You know, and so amazing. You know, and so. It's I can't believe I forgot about her, but she's such an important, awesome figure. And I think, that's like, right now, like, we have a son, but like, hopefully I hope in the future we do have a daughter. And I think definitely kind of a role model. I think that she kind of follows through, that with her education is so key.
Absolutely. Yeah. Realistically, that's what so you just brought this what this is about. It is about educating yourself, and education doesn't always occur in a classroom. Education is the willing to learn, to expand your mind. And it is, if you want to take a journey of freedom, you want to approximate justice, equality, you must educate yourself. That is why places who want to oppress and suppress individuals and groups of people normally look to do things that will inhibit or prohibit education, right?
Yeah.
Don't teach them how to read. That whether it is women in developing nations all over the world where their regimes and governments say, oh no, you can't read, because they know you will empower them and they will see who they truly are, and that they're equal and they're deserving just as much as their male counterparts
100%,
by simply opening their minds to what is available and what is possible. And that doesn't always happen in the classroom, but it's important. The same goes for health. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people to open their minds that, everything that's healthy doesn't occur inside of a hospital in a doctor's office, just as everything that's education doesn't occur inside of a classroom. Those places are just catalysts for those things to occur. We're trying to bring this to you so you can learn about all these things without having to sit in someone's anthropology class, in someone's history class, without having to go and sit in a doctor's office, without having to go and get a poli-sci major. So that is what they're doing. That's why we're breaking bread in this format.
Absolutely.
You got one more other person on this list that you're going to school me on that I don't know about. It is Ibtihaj Muhammad. If I butchered that, I'm sorry.
No, Ibtihaj Muhammad. So she's another. She is an American Olympian. She's a fencer, and she is
I know who you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about.
So she is an awesome figure. She wears a headscarf, and she is probably one of the most. She's African American, Muslim, from Jersey.
Is she from Brooklyn, Jersey? Yeah,
she's from Jersey,
up northeast, right?
Yeah, she's from the northeast, and so she's such an awesome, important figure as well too. And she has a book that we actually got our son as well too, and it's called I forgot what it's called. I actually have it somewhere behind there. I'm actually my son's nursery, so this is not real, by the way. It's not my office.
Don't blow our cover, man.
You
should have virtually pulled it off the shelf.
We'll add it. Like, hey, it's right here, and so it's called. The Ocean is Blue or something like that, where she's kind of talking about the importance of when based on her sisters, her older sisters first took the hijab, right? And so how they were kind of treated and things like that. So she's another important figure, I think, that kind of put us on the map as well, to like this important figure for women to be in this position, Muslim women to be in a position of in a powerful position of kind of promoting us, right? And so I think
Right.
she's a wonderful figure. And I was really upset. My wife and I, we found very late that she actually was, when we lived in Atlanta, she actually dropped by Decatur.
Oh, wait, that's a shame
Yeah,
on me then, man. Because
yeah,
okay, we live in Decatur.
yeah,
My daughter
yeah.
fences, also
Oh,
fences.
get out of here! Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's
that's what I'm
awesome.
saying.
Yeah,
So when you
yeah,
said it, I was like,
yeah,
I hadn't read her story in years. I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
ESPN did
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
this whole story on her, and I was inspired.
Yeah,
But that was so many years ago. I'd forgotten
yeah,
about her and her
yeah.
name. So no, that's good. You
Yeah,
got to
she's
now. I got to go
yeah, yeah,
educate myself
yeah.
again.
Because I think she did because she actually I think won the bronze medal I think
Yes,
for during the Olympics
something
and
I
stuff, and
remember.
so
Yes.
she did get a medal, and so and I'm if hopefully if the Haj Mohammed listens to this, if you got gold or silver, I apologize, but I believe it was the bronze. But you know she's definitely going to give empowerment to Muslim women or just women in general, you know, and I think
Yeah.
she's a very important figure, and so she's amazing.
Oh man, fantastic, fantastic. Well,
Yeah,
brother, this has been great.
yeah,
Now, just so we're gonna do this for our patriots in the room, because I
yeah.
know we got people that love America at the table here and outside listening to this. Just close this out. What are your thoughts about the land of the free and home of the brave?
Yeah.
And I say that with a little jest, but I don't say that with jest.
Yeah.
Tell me your
Yeah.
thoughts about this place we both call home.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is home. I mean, I think majority of my life I've lived here in the United States. I came here when I was 11. So I lived 22 years of my life here. And so, so for me, like, I mean, this place has been home. And I think it has given me a lot of opportunities that I would never have. Like, look, I can barely speak Urdu, which is the language in Pakistan. So I would not survive if I had to, when they say go back home, I would not survive in Pakistan. Saudi Arabia did not treat us right? So I would have very limited opportunities. So coming to America, like I'm a doctor, man. Like, you know, so like because of this country, I became a doctor, which is probably one of the most, we joke around, like, you know, with Pakistanis, you become a doctor out of the womb, right? Because that's what your parents expect you to become a doctor, right? So, and so that's an Indian culture as well too. And so,
Right, right.
um, I'm a doctor, man. Like I went to Stony Brook. I was so lucky to be fortunate to work at Emory. Like I'm at Cornell now, right? Which is in an Ivy League, you know, hospital, is ranked number 4 in the country, is because of opportunities that I had in America. I'm sorry, but like it's absolutely amazing, and I'm so grateful. But then I also think about being say that I'm a good Pakistani. I want to see a white doctor, right? I want to all the experiences that I've had from here being, hey, we're going to get you, we're going to get you. I think the ultimate question is, I mean, I say I love America, but the question I ultimately has, does America love me? And that's the question I don't have an answer for yet.
Well, if I'm an American and I am one of the sons of that helped build this country, and I love you, then there's a portion of America that loves you as well.
Sure.
And I think if you can say that reciprocally to anyone, then America does love that person. The fact is, does the collective of America love us? And you know, a lot of times people don't love us because they don't know what love is.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's our job to educate them in every space and every opportunity available to us to let them know. And that's what we're doing with this right now. We're doing this out of a passion. How much money do we get from this, man?
Unfortunately, nothing.
Right. It's something, you know, there's find what you do, and you know,
Yeah.
and if you love doing it, you will do it for free.
Yeah.
This is
And
free.
then-
We're spending
and-
our most valuable resources, our time and our money. It doesn't mean that we don't need it. Yeah, sure. If you guys know sponsors and stuff like that, you
Yeah.
know, but that's not why we're doing this. We're
No,
doing this for
no.
love. So for a love of
No,
our fellow
absolutely.
man. And we're doing it for people who necessarily don't love us. One of the biggest signs of love is when a person has done things that isn't lovely, that aren't
Mhm.
lovely, things that aren't beneficial to you. It's easy to love what is lovely, but that isn't really love.
Yeah.
What is love is
Yeah.
when people treat you poorly, when
Mhm.
you have every moral right to exact vengeance and bring down the wrath of justice upon someone who's wronged you, and you forgive them when
Yeah.
you are still willing to walk with them and bear with them in long suffering. That is love. And so if you're going to ask if the African loves America, I think that question's already been answered.
Yeah.
If our Muslim brothers and sisters and Islam loves America, I think that question's already been answered.
Yeah.
Hopefully, those who don't see it that way can look at us and say the same, that it's already been answered.
Yeah.
Man, this has been great.
Absolutely. Thank you for making this happen. It's definitely a topic I'm very passionate about. So thank you for giving me the medium to do this.
Oh yeah, no. We're this is just one of our dinner dates that we're gonna have with this part of
Can't
the
wait
series.
for
Guests is
more.
coming.
Can't wait for
Yeah,
more.
yeah, we're coming. And you're one of the monsters. You're gonna continue to spit the
Definitely.
facts and bring stats to us. Hey, look, man, love you, man. Love the
Love you
family.
too, man.
Give them a hug for us, and we will see you hopefully sooner than later.
100%, brother. Take care, man.